Fiddle-dee-dee, Millie. Darn it. Okay, come on. Oh, crap. Okay. I guess I can live with that. We'll move this thing. Nobody's on yet. Come on. Got to keep it plugged in. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm hard to put a shirt on. Oh, come on. That would be perfect if it would just stay right there, but I don't think it will. If I just had a big bungee cord. 2 bungee balls would solve my problem. Yep. Hello out there in Never Land, YouTube land. So somebody told me I should get on, should be on Telegram. Yeah, I should be on Telegram, Gab, Rumble, BitChute, Instagram, Facebook, yeah, right. Twitter, not hardly. And all those other social media concerns, but I don't have anybody to do that for me, and I can barely handle YouTube. So I'm sorry, people. And I'll try to talk clear. I know I'm tired and it's late and I don't enunciate well enough. I listen to my own things and I can't hardly understand myself sometimes. What the heck did I just say? I can't still hear that. So I'll try to be clear. I apologize for the past stupidities, but I'm just trying to get information out there, free of charge to you, free of charge to me, or at least as little expense to me as possible, which is, this is very costly, by the way. It's $200 a month to do this. So, I want to talk about communication. That's one of my main topics I'm going to talk about tonight. This is like a words from the watchfire, but they're not from the watchfire. This will be protocols, OzArk Plateau directives. Yeah, OzArk Plateau directives, protocols, laws, commands. Do this. Do this and live, the law commands, but gives me neither feet nor hands. A better way his grace doth bring. It bids me fly and gives me wings. That's the difference between Old Testament and New Testament, the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. We're commanded to do a lot of things in the Old Testament. We can't do them in and of ourselves. We're fallen sinners. But people think they can. Amazes me how they can get that message out of even the Old Testament, but it says you're supposed to follow the law, so we must be able to do it. Okay. We were in a men's meeting one time, and the guy made a funny statement. I asked him, I said, how do you think we get saved? The same way we did in the Old Testament, by keeping the law. Okay, sir, you, sir, are a bit mixed up. So, anyway, all right. Sound off, 1, 2, sound off, 3, 4. Sign in. Who's out there? Nobody? I'm going to hang up if I don't get nobody on. Oh, that's not right. No. 4. Anybody out there listening or not? We're going to talk about shit hit the fan communications. SHTF communications. That's pretty important. So I guess if nobody wants to listen, we'll just bag it. Down to 3 from 4. Somebody's supposedly watching. S, hi. S, where are you from? Hi, S. What part of the country, what state, whatever, what's your plan, what you just happen to get on here, or Joe Black. Hey, old Joe Black here. Hi, Joe Black, how you doing? You had some good things to say last night. That was really awesome. So, communications, any input there? Questions? I have some things to say, so I'm going to say them if nobody has any questions specifically on that. Oklahoma, northeast Oklahoma, hopefully, Lord willing. Question J, S. Northeast Oklahoma. Yeah, it was fun. What part of Oklahoma from there, S? I hope it's southwest. That's not good. Okay. Can you migrate to the northeast? See, you may be completely new to me, but my contention is, my belief is, and this is based on decades of study and research and seeing things just work out, okay? In the center of the United States is a large area that I consider a fortress. It was perfectly designed at creation for this point in time, and it has been mostly empty for all these decades and centuries and millennia. But it is centrally, when I say centrally located, I mean exactly, and I've done the math on it, so don't, somebody tried to correct me and I corrected him. It's 500 miles. If you go from the northernmost point of it, northwest corner, from the northern corner of it, it's 500 miles to Canada. There's several ways you can route it, but basically 500 miles to Canada. From the southwest corner of it, it's 500 miles to Mexico. From the westernmost tip, it's 500 miles to the Rockies, and from the eastern tip, it's 500 miles to the Appalachians. And as far as I'm concerned, the east and the west coast are the Rockies and the Appalachians for all practical purposes. Why do I say that? Because of earth changes, possibly rising ocean levels, which we have many, many, many attestations to, including the infamous U.S. Navy map, which I believe was made based on something that they know that nobody else is supposed to know. I read many, many years ago and tried to find it, verify it, and research, but I did hear it finally from another person that U.S. Navy subs have gone hundreds of miles under the west coast, that it's a shelf hanging over the Pacific. So when you see the U.S. Navy map that it's going to be cut off right at the Rockies, and Denver, Colorado might be front range property, front oceanfront property, they might know something more than we are never going to know. Got me? Okay, so that's one thing. And then another point is that, they have basically an inland port at Kansas City. Maybe they know something we don't know. Maybe with the Mississippi River Basin being about 100, 150 miles wide, maybe they know something we don't know. Maybe they know something they don't want us to know. Okay. Maybe they've done their men who stare at goats thing. Call it remote viewing. Ever hear of that? The Major Ed Dames was the guy that ran the program in the military, and they did remote viewing. They somehow tap into alternate reality, alternate timelines, or whatever, and they supposedly see the future. Okay. They're given a target and they focus in on that. Anyway, point being that he said, why did I get into that? I don't know. What they see coming down the pike is the end of the world is going to come by CMEs, coronal mass ejections, solar flares. Solar flares is a mild one. This is a little bitty, but coronal mass ejections. Huge masses of solar energy coming toward the Earth. And it's going to fry in the southern hemisphere. All these people are running to the southern hemisphere, right? All these survivalists and preppers. Well, he said this, and I totally agreed with him. That, in fact, it was a story to tell you about how I happened to see this video, this DVD. It was very bizarre, and I'll go into it maybe sometime later. But right now, I just want to say I watched the video. I will say this: I was the guest speaker to tell how to face what's coming at us because of this video, DVD. But nothing that he said in this video did I disagree with, and everything he said I basically agreed with. He didn't go into any specific details, but he did say that somebody asked the question, what safe havens are there in the southern hemisphere? And he said, we don't see any safe havens in the southern hemisphere except for maybe one or two in Australia. The southern hemisphere is going to be fried. Northern hemisphere will not. Okay, so that's one of my contentions. Not contentions. I didn't disagree at all, but it sort of verified what I believe about the OzArk Plateau. Okay, he didn't say anything about the northern hemisphere, though. He didn't say, this is going to be safe. This isn't it. He didn't address that as much as I remember that registered in my mind. Anyway, my point being is that centrally located in the United States is a gigantic area, a safe haven, a rock, a place of refuge, a fortress, a castle. Okay, it's called the OzArk Plateau. It's 50,000 square miles. Switzerland has about 5,333 square miles of. It's called the Swiss Plateau. Look it up. Anyway, Switzerland is about 15,000 square miles, but 2/3 of it is like that. You see Swiss chalets. Swiss chalets are pretty, and goats are pretty. Heidi, story about Heidi and her little sick friend, Charlotte or whatever her name was. I mean, look that up and tell me. Anyway, her goats ate herbs, and the herbs she milked the goats, and her friend got well from eating the herb-laden milk, goat milk. Okay, it cured her of her sickness, her paralysis or whatever. Pollyanna began with a P, I thought, maybe P or C. Charlotte, Christine, I don't know, something like that. I'll remember if I might remember. Anyway, so my point is that the Swiss Plateau is about 5,000 square miles. The Ozark Plateau is 50,000 square miles, 10 times larger than the occupied area of Switzerland. Got it? Okay. Sorry. I'm not really ready for this. I'm going to switch the screen and try to pick up something on my tablet for a minute. I've got to turn it on first, but whatever. All right, so I'm going to keep talking. So it should pick up. That's my contention. So the Ozark Plateau is mostly in big chunk of it's in Missouri, about 40 counties in Missouri, about 12 counties in northwest Arkansas, and the part of Missouri is the southwest part of Missouri, northwest Arkansas, and that's a very bizarre place. It's very, very hilly. I mean, I'm here to tell you it is amazing. The Boston Mountains and whatnot are just phenomenal. So, rotate device. I figured out I have to set this thing up. Well, I got the screen rotated like I want it, and I don't have it rotated. It tells me to rotate it, otherwise you won't be able to see me correctly or something. I don't know. So, there, my tablet's about on. Okay. All right, rotate device. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Get my thumb out in front of the camera. All righty, so sorry about that. The Ozark Plateau is a very large area. I wrote an article one time, requirements for a fortress to withstand a siege, for a bug-out location or refuge. Requirements for a fortress to withstand a siege or bug-out location, okay? You have to have protection of some kind. If it's a physical, so you have to have a border of some kind of a, think of the walls as your protection, and think of in a case of a region of borders, and the borders are rivers. Rivers are breaking points, cutoff points from places, okay? Got that? Okay. So you have to have, so in other words, internal protected. You have, inside that fortress, you got to have protection. The protection is your walls. In the case of a region, it's oceans and rivers, or mountains, or big walls. Okay, which we can get into that in a little while. But about 1,000-foot wall. How's that sound? Okay, so internal protected. Okay, if we're talking about a physical building, we're talking about walls. If we're talking about a region, we're talking about rivers and oceans. Okay, so where in the world is a place that's protected by rivers and oceans? Well, the United States is pretty good. You got a long border from here to Canada, and between Canada and here, and a not so long border between Mexico and here, but still sizable enough. So now, if you give any credence to, and I don't give it all kinds of credence, but George Washington's vision, which some people kind of question, like, was it really from God, or was it the enemy? Well, it could have been the enemy, but the enemy has to tell the truth in a lot of cases. The people following Paul, the woman following Paul said, "This man is a servant of the Most High God." Right? Getting notices on my tablet. Sorry. I can try to. Well, demonic forces have to tell the truth. Sometimes they lie a lot, yeah, but sometimes, occasionally, they tell the truth. So whether George Washington's vision, my point is, whether it was from the enemy or from right directly from an angel from God, to me it dovetails very well with the Bible. Ezekiel 38 and 39, especially in particular, Ezekiel 38 and 39. He saw America invaded from both borders and both oceans by, like, every nation in the world, many, many people. Well, that's exactly what Ezekiel 38 and 39 says, that the land of the people of Israel would be invaded by many Gog, Magog, and many peoples with thee. By many, and it's Cush, Put, Ethiopia, all of them will invade the land of the people of Israel. Okay, so to me, in that you see a very good description of what is happening. Now, my point for many years has been that if you are honest, if you're not delusional, you can be delusional. Many people read the Bible and they're very delusional. They believe what they've been taught by their pastor and when they were growing up, and they're never going to get they're brainwashed and they're never going to let that go. They're always going to believe what they've been taught when they were a kid. There's people that are brainwashed. They're always going to believe that the earth is a globe. They're always going to believe that no matter what you say, no matter how much proof there's been since 2015, and there's mountains and mountains, literally. I mean, mountains that you can see from 273 miles away. And if you can see a mountain from 273 miles away, you can see the other direction for 273 miles. That means that the earth is flat for 570 some miles, whatever it is. Okay, do the math. 27, 50, 540 miles. Okay. So, point being, that was a bunny trail. I didn't have to get off on the bunny trail. I apologize. Rewind. Go back. Brought me right back to point. And I just, can I hire you to travel with me to Seek? I'm losing my chat. They're gone. Okay, there you are. How you doing? Is Dawn here yet? Okay, blah, 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 blah. OzArk Plateau, centrally located. I got off on a tangent. People are brainwashed. I'm going backwards, okay? People are brainwashed. They're brainwashed into believing that, what? Come on, somebody help me out here. Somebody's got to remember. I'm not going to say anything until somebody reminds me. Come on, Gaddy Anton, you're smart. Grr, 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 grr. Arg. Brainwashing. We're brainwashed into believing things since we were taught as a little kid. We're brainwashed into believing one point back from flat Earth. Dadgummit. Help me out, people. Come on. Pastor. Church. Oh, yeah, people believing what their pastor taught them. I know that. I remember that much. Church propaganda. But what was the specific point? I don't know. God. No. It's 2 cents. Borders and walls. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just pick up there and I'll figure out what. Borders and walls. Okay. So the rivers and Ezekiel 38 and 39. Yeah, we're brainwashed into believing what we've been taught since we were kids. And that's not necessarily true. Not everything your pastor told you, and not everything your church told you. Like one time, my wife and I were talking to the pastor's daughter. We were going attending a church right across the street from where we lived. The kids were going to a church Christian school there, quote unquote Christian school there, which I pulled them out because I knew figured out it was communism. We started homeschooling, but anyway, we asked the pastor's daughter. Now, pastor's daughter she was a top student in the school. By grades, she was a top student until my daughter took tests. And she was the sharpest kid that ever had been in the school, and we just homeschooled her. Anyway, I had been homeschooling her, but she could think for herself. We asked the pastor's daughter one time, what do you think about this? Well, my dad says, what do you think about this? Or our pastor says, what do you think about this? Well, the church says. My wife and I looked at each other and went, this kid is brainwashed. And sure enough, everybody there was brainwashed, and we figured it out. I asked my 2 oldest kids, I asked them a whole bunch of questions. Is this kid a live fish or a cold fish? Is she a live entity or a cold fish? And they were like, cold fish, cold fish, cold fish. Every kid I talked about that's how we described them, was cold fish, like they're dead inside. They're not thinking. Black hole, whatever. So anyway, so people are brainwashed into thinking that, something's going to happen over there in Palestine and Israel, the state of Israel and whatnot. But if you're honest, if you are honest with yourself and honest with the facts, the statements there in Ezekiel 38 and 39, you'll see that the land that it talks about is a land of a peaceable multitude. Now, there's people over there in the Middle East that are not peaceable, never have been, never will be. peaceable multitude had been gathered from all the nations. That ain't true. They're one race. Just a whole bunch of a land with much cattle in the midst thereof. Hello? Every state in this country has more cattle than the whole state over there. The state, why is it not a country? Missouri, by the way, is one of the, every year, annually, one of the top number one or number two in cattle production in the country. Sometimes it's Florida, sometimes Nebraska, sometimes Texas, but basically Missouri and cow-calf operation is the number one cow-calf producer in the country, period, bar none. Okay, on a regular basis, like every year, number one and number two. Okay, so anyway, let's move along. I gotta get off on that. I'll just get to preaching here. Sorry. So the point is that Ezekiel 38 and 39 dovetails very nicely with George Washington's vision. There would be a time and a place in this country, and George Washington saw it in this country. And if you don't know what it is, look it up, because coming down to the point of it, he says that he saw this country invaded from both coasts, both borders, and that towns and cities were destroyed all the way across the country. Like every town and every city was destroyed, annihilated, wiped out. This quote unquote, that the inhabitants, this is only in some of the versions, but it says, and I saw that the inhabitants were driven inland to a wedge-shaped pattern, in a wedge-shaped pattern. If you look at the OzArk Plateau from north, from south, from east or west, you will see a wedge. So no matter where he saw it from, north, south, east, or west, the people packed in here like sardines would look like a wedge. And when I say packed like sardines, that's what I mean. I believe that will happen because the nation of Switzerland I just referenced earlier has 1,166 people per square mile. Well, let's round that up to 1,200 people because that's probably what it is by now. That was years ago that I read that fact. Okay, so 1,200 people per square mile times 50,000. What's that come up to? Let me do the math on that real quick. 50 million. Yep, 50 million. So I think this region is, because we have literally hundreds of times the capability of food production that Switzerland does. They import like 95% of their food. And once upon a time, Missouri, the state of Missouri, produced food and shipped it to the east coast, west coast, well, to the Rockies, the Appalachians, and Canada and Mexico. They shipped it all throughout the whole country, capable of providing enough food for the entire country. And it could be that way again if we get into aquaponics, hydroponics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, microgreens, and intelligent production of food methodologies. Okay. Thanks, Gaddy, out in Borders Walls. Yep. Okay, so not everything we've been taught by our pastor, not great. I've known a lot of people that read the Bible, nonstop, constantly, marked up, pages falling out, thumb-eared, dog-eared, written on, scribbled on. Every page has scribble in it. But so what happens if, they lose their Bible? Or what happens if they haven't been really reading the Bible? They just read the words, but they don't get it in their head. I've seen too many people that don't have a clue what the Bible really teaches. I told this lady recently who took exception and got, basically declared me her enemy. I said that I make a better friend than not otherwise than an enemy. But I said, people don't understand the Bible. I live by biblical principle. There are many biblical principles, and people don't pay any attention to them. They just violate them all the time. So yeah, get that thing out. No, that wouldn't work. That's kind of good. Like that. I could turn that light out. That's what I did last time. I'll try to turn that out. Just in case it's glaring in your guys' eyes. I could turn that other light on. Maybe I'll do that. Let me do that. The Bible says something about a The Bible says something about a what? Are you quoting me? Trying to get me back track or what? I tried to turn it the other way. Stupid thing. Rotate device, rotate device, rotate device. That's a little bit better. Except for my stupid get up here. Sorry about that. It's cold and stuff, and I'm just trying to get this done. Okay, so George Washington vision. So my point is that basically, overall point is that there's a safe region in the middle of the United States. There's a lot of people who believe that. There are, kid you not, Russians here from all over the world. There's two different, completely separate movements of Russians here, believe it or not. There's a whole business of Russians. There we go. It'll sit there without falling over. It's precariously balanced. If it falls over, too bad. I was reading some comments there. The Bible says something about not going on with the idea of reading but not understanding. Okay. No going on with the idea of reading but not, yeah. So, yeah, they read it but don't understand it. They'd read it and break multiple laws, and that's very sad. I'm not knocking anybody in particular, but it can cost you your life. So, so there's a central area, safe region that I believe is described in the Bible in Ezekiel 30 and 39, and that is described in George Washington's vision. And in that book that I referenced and I read a chapter from, the book is called "There Is No Death" the guy was a Mormon for a while. I don't know if she's still a Mormon or if she's even alive, but Sarah Linnell Monet, M-I-N-E-T, Monet. It's a French word. Somebody correct me. I was saying Monet. I should have known that because my Monet. They call them Monet. Orland Ida Monet. I think it was Monet. It's probably an Americanized version of the word. But anyway, sorry. I need a drink of water. The scenario in George Washington's vision is that the country is attacked, invaded by all four sides, left, right, east, and west. No, north, south, east, and west. Left coast, right coast, east coast, left coast, left coast, west coast, north and south were invaded, and the inhabitants of the land were driven inland. Now, I did a study and I was curious, so I put in inhabitants were driven inland, and you can find multiple cases of that throughout history. That just look up that phrase, do a Google search on it, just JFGI, just Google it, just effing Google it, and you'll see that if you're invaded, where are you going to go? You're going to go away from the invasion, right? Well, if we're invaded from the north, people are going to be running south. If we're invaded from the south, people are going to be running north. If we're invaded from the east coast, people are going to run into the west. And if people were invaded from the west coast, people are going to run into the east. Hello? Where do they meet? Right in the middle. Okay, so in this book, There Is No Death, chapter 4 is called I See the Future, and it's primarily the future of the United States. And again, just like the book or the DVD I told you about, Major Ed Dames, remote viewing, military remote viewing. I've got to get my book translated into Russian, I'll tell you that. That has to happen. I've got to make an effort to do that. Wouldn't take a translator that much. Wordsworth was the guy that translated the Ringing Cedars of Russia. That's one of the groups I mentioned earlier, referenced earlier. The editor lives in Missouri. His name is Leonid, University of Columbia Forestry, and he's homesteading here in Missouri. And then there's a whole group of, I almost read, business here in Stockton, Missouri, and it was called a place called Lakeland Steel, Lakeland. That was owned by a friend of mine, the guy that founded our farm, Ben Zitting. It had been owned by him, but he sold it, and they went bankrupt, overextended, blah blah blah. But anyway, Gaddy Amp knows that story, right, buddy? So anyway, This guy bought it. His name was Michael. I met him one time. I toured the factory. So he started building ships. And he needed a welder, and a Russian guy showed up, and he hired him, Need another welder, So he says, I got a friend that can weld. Another guy showed up, Russian. Need another welder, Russian. He had about 40 Russians there working there. I kid you not, they couldn't even speak English. But they built tugboats and barges, shipped them to China, for crying out loud, because they were not disposable ones like you get from China. They were real. They had twin turbo Cummins diesels in them. Massive engines. I mean, huge. These weren't like little truck engines. These things were like the size of a truck. About the size of a diesel Cummins truck. That's how big the engine was. It was huge. Anyway, so long story short, that's in my mind. I mean, that's how big they looked. When I was looking at them, about as big as the cab of a truck. Anyway, so point being that here's a bunch of Russians in Stockton, Missouri, building tugboats and barges and shipping them around the country. It's even shipping them to China. Don't ask me how they got there, but they didn't float them there. Which brings us to a very interesting bit of geography and history. What is the furthest inland seaport in the United States? I'll leave this open. I'll answer this question. And somebody answer it if they know the answer, and I'm not missing it before. And somebody might already know the answer from me talking about it. But what is the furthest inland seaport in the United States? And don't say Kansas City, because that's not right now. I'm talking about seaport, meaning where you can sail to it from the oceans, from China. Okay. Let me know if anybody knows that. What's the furthest inland seaport? Okay, so the reason I'm saying that is because of doggone it, I'm just fuzzy. I'm sorry. Not enough oil in my brain. Need some more butter and coconut oil and stuff. All right. Tired too. Oh, whew. Furthest inland seaport. Okay, so and I'll give you a clue. It was used about the year 500 BC. And it accounts for the fact that it wasn't used, but the seaway was used about 500 BC by somebody from Palestine. Okay. Yeah. Too much history. TMI, too much information. Gadianton, Catoosa, the port of Catoosa. Misspelled, but that's okay. Are you speaking to text? That's fine. Port of Catoosa, Port of Catoosa. It's just outside of Tulsa, and it is the river, and there's a canal there, but it's basically the river, the Arkansas River, which goes into Colorado. The headwaters are up in Colorado. So the Arkansas River comes out of Colorado. People from Europe move to Colorado. They go visit Colorado to go kayaking on the Arkansas River. It's such an awesome river to kayak that they move from Europe to Colorado and live there. Aspen, Carbondale, that whole area. So, don't get me up on bunny trails. Stop it. Port of Catoosa, furthest inland seaport. Yes, that is the furthest inland seaport. Now, someday, Kansas City might be the furthest. I don't know if it'll be further than that, though. Because you got to come up the Mississippi and then up the Arkansas to Tulsa, basically. Just think of it as Tulsa. Tulsa's pretty darn close. It's just outside. Just look it on the map. Mapquest it. Okay, so Port of Catoosa is furthest inland seaport. Now, why did I say it was used 500 BC? Gadianton, tell me that one. You probably know that one, too. So, anyway. Yeah, but the Arkansas River is a river. It's a border. And look at where the Arkansas River is. Well, somebody just got in contact with me via this. I don't know if he's on tonight. I haven't seen him yet. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, so don't get mad at me. But it wasn't Michael. It's me, off topic. What is Citizen of Trust territory? I'll try to read that a little bit. Get back to that. So somebody told me that they came from Florida and ended up in a city I'd never heard of. Something Mountainburg, Arkansas, which is down I think it's north of Fort Smith. And I said, well, good thing you're on the north side of the Arkansas River because you're on the Craton. But I would not want to be right there because I think that someday it's going to be very, very shaky. because my personal belief is that the OzArk Plateau, being a very solid structure, is going to someday be pistoned up into the air. Uplifted is the word, you know. Imagine a plateau on a hydraulic ram cylinder just going, yeah. And at the southern edge of that, right along Highway 40, right along the Arkansas River, is going to be a very steep, rough. It'd be interesting. It'd be good. I'd love to be there to see it happen. You know, because it'd be, oh, we're 10 feet up now, we're 100 feet up now, we're 1,000 feet up. Wow, what a view from there. New oceanfront property. The only problem is the ocean's going to be pretty way down, far down there. I know I'm just talking crazy stuff, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see that, and it's solid science, really scientifically. Jack Del Valle, Jack the Valley. I'm all in. Righty, yeah. And there are a few stories about. I know you know what I'm talking about. Puerto Catoosa Inland Seaport. It's me. Hello there. It's me. You think Fayetteville will feel earthquakes? Um, might feel them. I mean, we're feeling them up here in Missouri already. Uh, Somebody on my sub list here, April, Johnny Doom, Wifey, was how I first ran across this gal. April, I still have him down as April Doom, Johnny Doom. I don't know. Anyway, Johnny Doom. They're down there by Doniphan, and there was an earthquake there one night. And then the same night there was one in I might be wrong, but Mountain Home, no, in Missouri, Marshfield or Mountain Home or one of the M words, whatever. I don't know if it was Marshall or anyway, two earthquakes the same night. So you can feel earthquakes there, but hey, I don't know. Who knows? Michael, hello there. You have to catch up. I was listening to it. I've been covering some tracks, mostly on the OzArk Plateau, obviously. But anyway, I apologize, everybody. Voice is getting raspy. Safe region, transportation. Okay, just I'll nutshell this. I'm not gonna go anymore. I'm just gonna say what I believe. I believe there's a very very high probability, like bordering on fact, that in 586 BC, when Babylon invaded Jerusalem, and we've gone into that before, 5/6 of the cities of Jerusalem were already of Judea. Judah was the southern kingdom, correct? 5/6 of those people, of the mass of Judah, were already gone before Babylon came to power. They went into captivity into Assyria. So Assyria took the 10 tribes into captivity, along with the 5/6 of Judah, 5/6 of the population of Judah. Now, every single one of those people in Judah, male or female, could be a king or a queen, because they were the scepter tribe. They were the scarlet thread tribe. Rahab, the harlot, let them down with what? A scarlet thread. The midwife tied the hand off of Zerah when he stuck his hand out of Tamar's womb. And who was the father? Judah was the father. Tied a scarlet thread around it. Rahab let him down with a scarlet thread, scarlet cord. I think the scarlet cord is a symbol of royalty of the house of Judah. And I told you about how I was telling this Catholic woman who knew nothing about nothing about Bible at all, not a Christian. I think she was a very spiritual woman, very godly woman, a very wise woman. One of the things she taught us in our family was, don't have crazy people in your life. And I've mistakenly made that error too many times. Not deliberately, but not knowingly, but not deliberately, but realizing, oh, that person's crazy. I shouldn't have had them in my life. I should have been more perceptive. I should have been more discerning. Point being is that this woman, I was telling her about the whole Calcall Darda. Darda went by sea to Ireland, Dardanelles. Israel always names cities and towns and rivers after their fathers. Dardanelles, the Dnieper, the Dniester, Dan, tribe of Dan, Denmark, Dansmark. Okay, they traveled by sea and went to Ireland, and then many years later, that was about right after Perez and Zerah, right after Judah begat Perez and Zerah of Tamar, and Perez begat Amminadab begat Ram, and Ram begat Nashon, and Nashon begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz of Ruth of Rahab, and Boaz begat Obed of seductresses in that messianic lineage. One right after the other. Rahab was a harlot. You know, Tamar dressed up as a harlot. Rahab was a harlot. That was her business. She was a harlot. Ruth seduced Boaz. She uncovered his feet. Look what feet is, pedenda. And then you have Bathsheba doing a striptease before the king of Israel to seduce him. So you have four very, very obviously attractive women that were very wild, very hot-blooded, whatever you want to call it, beautiful women, because each one of their husbands were gained by seduction. Okay, so I don't think God is totally opposed to I'll say this way: God is not as condemning of harlots or prostitutes or women who are beautiful as most Christian women in churches today make out to be. I don't think that's the case. So, anyway, Rahab. Okay, back to the story. It was a bunny trail. BT. Boaz, Ruth, Rahab, Scarlet Cord. Come on, Scarlet Cord. Oh, this Catholic woman. I was telling her about. I said, no, I've heard this. I don't know that it's true because Calcol and Darda both went by sea and by land. Ireland was settled 1000 BC. Let's say that 1000 BC. Zerah's descendants, three generations are in the Bible and they disappear. You can't list somebody's genealogy if it's not around to list it. So they were gone. Darda went over sea, and Calcol went overland, and so 1400 years after Ireland was settled, Scotland was invaded and settled because it took Calcol's descendants that long to fight across Europe. I'm not going to go into that. The Scottish Declaration of Independence, read it. Braveheart, Robert the Bruce, Declaration of Arbroath in 1320. I'll just nutshell it. This Declaration of Arbroath, the Scottish Declaration of Independence, says that their kings came from Palestine. They came from Israel. 1,200 years after the going out of the people of Israel, they, passing through Greater Scythia, sojourned for a long time in Spain, Castilian, Spanish. And by the way, I met a couple one time on a carpet job. I did a carpet job for a couple who were Castilian Spanish. They were both, the husband and wife, were both over 6 foot tall, blonde hair and blue eyes. I mean, just blue as can be. Blonde hair, I've got chills going down my spine right now. The Mandan Indians, again, blonde hair, blue eyed. Lewis and Clark were told by Thomas Jefferson to watch out for blonde hair, to watch out for Indians, white Indians that spoke Welsh and Hebrew. And they met them, they started trying to figure out their language. They looked at each other and go, this is Welsh and Hebrew. So the chief's name was Big White because he was 300 pounds and 6 foot plus, 6'5", 300 pounds. Blonde hair, blue eyed. So anyway, royalty. If I pass out, somebody wake me up. Somebody call me. So I was telling this friend of ours, this Catholic woman, who did Irish cruises all the time. She told me I should go on one of these Irish cruises. They'd pay for me to go. I said, I don't leave the OzArk Plateau. But she said, the stories you're telling about Ireland, she said they would pay huge money to have you tell these stories on a cruise. She said, it'd be awesome. So anyway, I got to the point where I said, now, the the scarlet thread thing, that's what it was. The scarlet thread, the scarlet cord. I said, no, I've read, and I don't know if this is true or not. Now, granted, understand, this woman came over from Ireland as a baby, and she swears that she is the Gerber baby, the Gerber baby food baby. That's her. They probably told everybody that. This is your baby on the Gerber baby food label. I'm sure they sold it to a bunch of people. But anyway, that she believed that she was the baby on Gerber baby food labels. So anyway, but she knew Irish history from her perspective, not from my perspective, not from biblical perspective, but from Irish perspective. She's been on a lot of these Irish history cruises. Okay. So anyway, I got to the point. I said, no, I don't know if this is true. I said, but I've read that to this day in Ireland, if there's an official decree, it's done in a scroll form and it's tied with a scarlet thread. And her reply was not like, "Oh, that's bullshit" or anything. She very vehemently, very, very loudly, and very forcefully said, "That is exactly true." And she just floored me. I was like, "Ooh, bang! I hit a live wire there," But she verified it instantly what I had said, what I said, questioned about. All right, so there we go. So anyway, blah 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 blah. The Scarlet Thread, Port of Catoosa, waterway, Long Inland Waterway. Okay, so you go in up the Mississippi, up the mouth of the Mississippi. You go up the Arkansas River, and you go by pretty close to it. And this, I don't know how far it is. Somebody can look this up and let me know. But there's a mountain in Arkansas called Mount Magazine. Okay, odd name, right? There's Mount Judea, Mount Nebo, all kinds of biblical names of mountains and towns in Arkansas. I mean, just tons of them, just one right after the other. So, but what is a magazine? A magazine, a place, a thing that you sit down in a doctor's office and read. It's a place of information. It's a place where you store your information, right? It's also a when you talk about old forts, the magazine where you stored your gunpowder, for your cannons and stuff. And if you hit the magazine, if they pound it through the wall and they hit the magazine, big boom, big explosion. It was the end of the battle or end of the war when you hit that. Magazine in a ship is where they store their ammunition. A magazine in a gun is where you store your ammunition. Somebody call it a clip, but it's a magazine. It's where your bullets go. Your bullets and your gunpowder are in a magazine. So, and a magazine can be a place where you store electrical energy. So here's the contention. About 1000 BC, Darda goes to Ireland, and in secular history, it states in secular history that the monarchy in Ireland came into bloom, came into being in full roar, roar, like the royal lion, right? Came into being in full roar. That's what it was. How it described it from a secular viewpoint. They didn't say who did it or how or whatever, but it was a established monarchy that came into Ireland. Then right, it was going back all the way to Judah. Okay, that's where Ireland came from. 1400 years later, Scotland's invaded and settled. Guess what? In the coats of arms in Ireland and Scotland both, you have red hands. And in Ireland, one of the red hand houses is the House of Diamond. So my point is that every single person in Judah has the right to rule, be a monarch or king or queen. We can be the kings and queens of anything we want to be. Chronicles of Narnia. More truth there than you could imagine. Than you could literally imagine. More truth there in that song. That's from one of the Chronicles of Narnia movies. Walt Disney, I don't know which one. Lion, the Witch in the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, or Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Might be Voyage of the Dawn Treader. No, Prince Caspian. I would bet for Prince Caspian, but anyway, regardless. We can be the kings and queens of anything we want to be. Okay, so true story. And the Bible says that we're going to rule, So this would be a good fireside one. I got to do this around a campfire. I really envision someday, sit around a campfire and just tell stories like this, just relate to biblical stories and teach people truth. If Fawn gets back in, I think that was her name, Dawn. I'm sorry, Dawn, whose husband was Scotch and Irish and Cherokee. I can't wait to tell them where the heck he came from. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. That was just one of the most weirdest things I've ever run across in my life, and one of the most strangest things that ever happened to me in my life. The timing of it and the forcefulness of that prayer. God, if this is true, I want proof tomorrow. The next day I find a book about the Cherokee Nation saying that the original title was 23 Arguments, 23 things where the said that the comparing the Cherokee customs and manners and things that they do with ancient Hebrews, the Hebrew Old Testament law and later Old Testament law. Their name for monarch, for deity, Yehovah, how they set up camp, how they did sanitation, how they prosecuted war, their social customs, mores, cleanliness, etc., etc. So anyway, okay. So, 1000 BC, Ireland settled. 586 BC, Babylon is invading Judah, and Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah, takes his great-great-granddaughter, Tefi, great-great-great, I don't know, to Egypt, to Furthest, which means city of the princess, Hebrew princess, and then to Ireland. So this is about 500 years after Zerah's already gone. Zerah Darda went to Ireland. So there is monarchy in Ireland. So Tefi goes there. Jeremiah brings her there. And she marries into that lineage. What lineage is it? It's the lineage of Perez. She is descended not from Zerah, but from Perez. Zekiah of Perez, okay. So she marries into that clan. So she's able to inherit everything that she was of her father's. So the lineage of Zedekiah was not cut off. If you follow normal Christian, quote-unquote, theological teaching, the lineage of Zedekiah, the line of Judah was cut off, was dead with Zedekiah, because Nebuchadnezzar killed every one of his sons in front of his eyes and then blinded him, and he died in Babylon. So that was the end of the scepter. But yet God had said in Genesis 49:10 that the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gather. So what I'm getting at is that Jeremiah takes, and one of the things is, I'll tell you this. Look at Jeremiah 1, I think it's verse 5. I'm not even going to look it up right now. Look it up. It says he was given 5 jobs: to root out, to tear down, to destroy, to build, and to plant. And everybody knows that Jeremiah prophesied against this nation, prophesied against this nation. He was threw out prophecies against nations right and left. So to root out, to tear down, to destroy. But nobody, there's not a pastor. You could ask 1,000 pastors, professors, what Jeremiah built and planted, and they would not be able to tell you. They would say, I don't know. Well, he was given the task, and I think this is implied in Scripture. I can't give you a chapter and verse right now, but he was given the task of making safe the relics or the valuable things of Israel. Okay, i.e. the Ark of the Covenant, David's harp. Of course, the Ark of the Covenant had 10 commandments in it, the tablets of stone, on sapphire stone, by the way, blue stone. It says that in Ezekiel. So, I'm going to quit here before okay, I'm going to get into the topic yet, communication. So Jeremiah takes the Ark of the Covenant, David's harp, Tefi, his great-great-granddaughter, goes to Ireland, drops her off, leaves the Ark of the David's harp there. People believe, I don't know, have a lot of information on this, but there's a place called Terra, T-R-R, like the farm in Gone with the Wind. Terra means earth, T-E-R-R-A-S, earth. Terra mover, terracotta, earth pot, earth mover, terrarium, earth, like an aquarium, a terrarium is an earth thing. Pomme de terre over here, there's a lake over here. One of you guys is from there. I can't remember who, but off the top of my head, Sean, maybe. Anyway, pomme de terre is apple of the earth. Terra is earth, terrarium, terrestrial. On this terrestrial ball, name him King of Lord of all. Okay, so Terrestrial ball. Okay, so Terra Hill is, they believe, where Tefti is buried. Very much highly believe that. I think it'll probably be opened up someday. Jeremiah brought the Ark of the Covenant over to America, came up the Mississippi. Now, understand, if this seems far fetched to you, you got to read The Lost 10 Tribes Found by Stephen Collins, one of the most awesome books ever written in the history of mankind. I mean, it reads like a Tom Clancy novel. I mean, it reads like one of just a such detective work, such beautiful presentation of scholarly work. In fact, one guy, a very wealthy man, multimillionaire, read him, and he got in touch with Stephen Collins. He said, "You're one of the very few writers that keeps me up at night. I read you every night, like sometimes all night." Fascinated. So he gave him carte blanche, blank check. Took him with his airplane, chopper, whatever, but took him over several states and showed him his holdings and his wealth and everything. And he said, "Don't tell anybody who I am, but you have completely blank check to spend as much money as you need to, do whatever you need to do to write, to do this more information writing. I want you in writing. I want you to be, a famous author." So if this seems far fetched, Carthage traveled all over the world. David and Solomon traveled all over the world. They sent out Solomon. This is in the Bible. Solomon sent out trading expeditions that took 3 years to complete. That's because it takes 3 years to go around the globe. What a joke, huh? Anyway, Ferdinand Magellan was the first one to circumnavigate the Earth, the flat Earth. It takes 3 years to do that. Captain Cook, Okay, thrown in. No big deal that they came over here. I mean, it's fairly well known that Solomon and David both had mining operations going on over the Great Lakes area, mining copper and whatnot. There are many, many inscriptions, and I talked to one guy. He showed me. I have somewhere on one of my old phones. There's a picture. I think I have it right here. I got to look it up. A picture of a workbench with about 250 pounds of gold on it, and it was artifacts, and it had inscriptions in Punic, Hebrew. I mean, this was a collection from a lot of places, and it was found on a farm in Illinois. And somebody stole it and killed the guy and stole it and went to Colorado and started selling off, and they tried to get the guy, but they couldn't get him. Anyway, point being is that there's a lot of dig-ins and a lot of people are familiar with that. Barry Fell, Harvard professor, America, BC, Stone Age, he's got several books on pre-Columbian America. And for whatever reason, the Smithsonian always gets a hold of stuff and buries it. Like you see in Raiders of the Lost Ark, they took the Ark of the Covenant and stuck it away in the museum, So it's not popular to have people know the truth about the history here. Like the giants and mound builders civilization and whatnot. And of course the Mormons have a lot of information on all that. That's Gadianton. In fact, the guy on here is the Gadianton was one of the groups in Mormon teachings. So I got to go into that story one day, but not right now. First time I heard all this stuff about Mormonism was from a Mormon doctor. This is so cool. Hell, I'll tell it. So, first expo we did was in Lubbock, Texas, for my son and I. My wife did one in Denver with my son, and then my son and I did, the first one I went to was in Lubbock, Texas, about January of 1999. Y2K. And I was kind of leery about staying in a motel, I was just newbie and just a, innocent, what do you call it, chicken. A, neophyte, newbie, whatever. Innocent. Okay. I didn't know nothing about nothing. So anyway, we had a customer that was really wanting to get a stove. So my wife and her business partner, worked out a deal with him to trade a stove for me and Ian staying in his house during that time. He turned out the guy was a doctor, a physician, a brain surgeon, if I remember right. So here he is. I'm in his house, and I look at his big shelf on his wall, and I turned to him and I said, "So you're a Mormon?" And he was like shocked. He goes, "How did you know?" And bottom shelf, he took every book that would give him away that he was, and took it off the shelf. turned around so the pages were out. The spine was not there. He'd missed a few, and there was enough of them there. I just went, well, I'm pretty well. I'm not a normal guy. I read quite a bit. And he goes, well, I'll say you must. I said, how the hell did you figure that out? How did you figure that out? And so we lay there on the carpet. My son's asleep. They always sleep through everything. I'm laying on the carpet on our stomachs, and he's telling me the history of Mormonism, and I'm like, yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. I already believe that. Yeah, I believe that. Because it was about circumnavigating the globe and whatnot. He says they got on the ship and they went sailed. They went across the Red Sea, and they sailed the Isthmus of Straits of Gibraltar. No, Straits of Isthmus of whatever that they sailed east to America. And I went, that's impossible. No, I already believe that. What am I talking about? For about half a second, my mind went, no, that's stupid. That's crazy. And I was like, no, I already believe that anyway. I got that. Okay, I'm good with that too. So it was really funny. That was my first exposure to Mormonism from a Mormon perspective. A lot of people don't like Mormonism, and I remember one guy in Colorado, man. He could argue Mormonism from every up and down one side, and he could prove it wrong and blah blah blah. I'll tell you one thing I never felt from him was any kind of love. All I felt was like hate for it, and oh well, you have to whip somebody over with a bunch of feed them acid. You're gonna give them more. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Of course, you mix that in vinegar and honey. I'll run out of steam here in a minute. Don't worry, I'm about out of water, and I got to do something else. I can't keep talking without drinking a little bit of water every once in a while. Okay, I should have some hot water too. That's not a bad idea. Okay, so Scarlet Thread, Port of Catoosa. So Jeremiah takes the Ark of the Covenant, comes up Mississippi, up Arkansas River, gets out on the southern bank of the Arkansas River, and marches with this huge group of men. Magazine, and I think I know where the entrance is personally. I just, kind of a guess from something nice the Lord showed me. But anyway, marched into Mount Magazine, stashed the Ark of the Covenant, and they're leaving. And this is in the book of, you can read, he doesn't say where, but in the book of Maccabees, it says they're walking away. And Jeremiah looks back, and these guys are making rock piles or something, marking stones or trees or something. He goes, what are you doing? He goes, well, we're marking it so we'll be able to find it. He goes, don't bother. He said, it is not going to be brought, the Ark of the Covenant will not be brought forth again until the end of time, until the last days or something like that. Read it, Book of Maccabees. That's in the Book of Maccabees. Okay, so that's there about Jeremiah saying that, and they're trying to mark the place. So it's there. I believe it is. And there's just, I can't tell you how many bizarre, odd, crazy, nutty, not nutty, but eerie coincidences about it. So Missouri and Arkansas are the 25th, 26 states admitted into the Union. When Christ died, when the Lamb was slain, the veil in the tabernacle tore in half between the 25th and 26th ring. And there's a blue canopy blue veil over the Ark of the Covenant. Blue Veil Mountains, and the sky's a lot of times blue over Mount Magazine. So there's a lot of really weird, odd, when I later there. Don't get sidetracked. Don't. Bunny trail. That's a bunny trail. Bounce. Go like that. Bounce. Bunny trail. Okay. So Scarlet Cord is read. So Ark of the Covenant, Mountain Magazine, Northwest Arkansas. I don't know why this is odd. Somebody tell me something on this. This just it doesn't bother me. It's just because God doing what He's going to do. If it is in Mountain Magazine, why in the heck is it on the southern side of the Arkansas River, not north? And if it is going to be brought forth before the end of time, it needs to be brought back for the end of time into the OzArk Plateau, I think, somewhere in, let's say, into Arkansas or Missouri. Because the Washita Mountains will also be an island if it comes down to it. And I don't know, I'm not sure if it's in the Washitas or not. I don't think it's quite considered in the Washitas, but it's, anyway, I'm talking out loud here, sorry. I'm gonna start looking at the notes in a minute. Sorry. If you got any questions, say them. Talk about a few other things. But I want to talk about communication. That's what I kind of listed to the topic for tonight. I want to get into that. So someday the Ark of the Covenant may be brought forth And if it is, then that's going to be a pretty majestic, weird time, because I think it'll be brought forth with the at the time of, I don't know, second coming, return, tabernacles. Would be a good time for it. Oh my gosh, guys, holy, wow, tabernacles. Passover has been fulfilled in Christ. Sacrifice of the lamb, right? The lamb was sacrificed, slain before the foundation of the earth. Pentecost has been fulfilled on the day when the day of Pentecost was fully come. The Holy Ghost was given, poured out, outpoured. But tabernacles has not been fulfilled, and Passover was fulfilled on the exact day, time, and to the minute when Christ was died. Because it was dark for 3 hours, so they say all the priests were sitting there with a. It was dark, and they could not kill the lamb until they could see what they were doing. So it's dark for 3 hours. Light comes out. Boom! They kill the lamb. Jesus says it is finished. At the exact moment that they kill the lamb. Pentecost, from the day of Pentecost on Mount Sinai, and it was written on our hearts on the day of Pentecost to the day, according to that biblical season, that biblical feast day. If you wonder why biblical feast days are important, how they are, the reason is because Tabernacles is the last, and they're all harvest. Okay, they're all Israel's supposed to be Israel is an agricultural nation. Okay, primarily an agricultural nation. In their day, in David and Solomon's day, they were the most powerful nation on earth. And Scythia and Parthia were the most powerful nations in the world, too. Rome invaded Parthia with an army of 50,000 men. And it wasn't as good as when Stalin invaded Finland. Stalin invaded Finland. He said, I sent 1.5 million men into Finland. 1 million never returned. He at least 2/3 of his army back. 1.5, he got 2/3 back, 1/3 back, 500,000. He got 500,000 men out of 1.5 million. Rome invaded Parthia with 50,000 men. You know what they got back? The head. The guy who sent back with the head in a basket, head in a basket, and rolled it to the Roman Imperial Senate and said, "Here, come on back if you want to try again." Devil said, "Come on back if you ever want to try again." Johnny said, "Come on back if you ever want to try again." Anyway, so they rolled ahead to the Romans and said, "Bring it on again. We'll take another army." Scythia and Parthia were both very powerful empires. Okay. 1,200 years of the going out of the people of Israel. They, passing through greater Scythia, hello, Scythia, sojourned for a long time in Spain, the Castilian Spanish, the kingdom of Sepharad, the heavenly kingdom, took themselves the isles, the land that they now hold in the isles of the west, and of their royal lineage, 114 kings have reigned, no stranger intervening. Okay, the royalty in Scotland came from Palestine, from the Hebrew people, from the tribe of Judah. Period. End of story. Okay, scarlet thread. Okay, so but think of this: if the tabernacle is in Mount Magazine and the tabernacle is brought forth, there's a reference there. The tabernacle in the wilderness was a tent. Okay, and in tabernacles we're supposed to set up tents and live in the tent for a whole week, for 8 days. And if people do that, they'll be used to cold weather camping, and they'll get better equipment. They'll get a better tent, a better teepee or whatever, which would be a good idea. I think we're going to do a lot of camping and a lot of wilderness experience stuff, a lot of underground homes. I believe that's what we're going to be doing, building booths in the wilderness. They're got about, I don't know, 40 million people, something on the order of 34 million people coming in here and building homes and tabernacling in the wilderness. This is the wilderness. It's a huge 50,000 square mile wilderness. It is the greatest region on earth for bioagriculture. I made that statement one time. The guy said, "I'm from Minnesota. We got 8 foot deep topsoil." And I said, survival agriculture, biodiverse survival agriculture. We got 8 foot deep topsoil. I said, you live in tank country. I said survival agriculture. We can grow food in the mountains. This ain't the Swiss Alps where it's vertical. You can grow a lot of food here, a lot of cattle, a lot of goats, a lot of sheep, a lot of ducks, a lot of chickens, a lot of rabbits. Rabbits can be dog food if you eat clean. Got to keep your dogs. Got to have dogs to protect your sheep and your goats. So you can raise rabbits for fertilizer and to feed your dogs. Hello. You can raise hogs for clean your ponds out. They don't have to eat the stuff. You can sell them and make money. You don't have to eat hogs to raise them. They can be income. Okay, so anyway, sell them to the Gentiles. All right, so I've never met that convention before. Tabernacles. Maybe the tabernacle Ark of the Covenant we brought forth, and we'll be tabernacling in the wilderness. Got any thoughts on that? Let me know. Okay, that's good enough for that. I'm quick. Stop. That's it. Done. End of story. An hour and 13 minutes. That's too many. Okay. I'm going to check the comments here and see if somebody had a question or something about something. It's me. Pomme de terre. Potato. Thought it was apple. Come on. All right, whatever. Common Sense Homestead. Hey there, how you doing, Common Sense Homestead? I know some farmers that own property on Big Sugar River in Missouri. Where's Big Sugar River? I don't have any idea. They live in Utah and they plan on staying there for now. Well, yeah, that's okay. That's fine. Straits of Hormuz? No. Isthmus of... Maybe it was. I don't know. What's that little bitty sea thing that's sticking by the Red Sea, though? Not Panama. Isthmus of Suez. I don't know. I don't think so. No way. Not River Creek. Big Sugar River versus Little Creek. Oh, come on. Stop it. Okay, anyway. Big Sugar River or River Creek. Big Sugar Creek. Not River Creek. Oh, Big Sugar Creek. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Creek. Gotcha. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty cool. Make another connection here. The lady that I mentioned earlier, I See the Future, Chapter 4 in her book, There Is No Death. She was Mormon, and I'll tell you what, just like the Men Who Stare at Goats, the Major Ed Dames remote viewing stuff, the DVD that I was a guest speaker for, this woman, in that Chapter 4, I See the Future, there's nothing in there that I disagree with, and everything in there I agreed with. I mean, spot on everything, exactly the way I would see things happening, playing out. But she was actually shown the future. I mean, it included an Ebola plague, a blistering plague, a massive earthquake, nuclear warfare. But the thing that killed more people than everybody else, everything else in the United States put together, I think, was hordes of people coming out of the big cities, killing people just to be killing, not for sex, not for drugs, not for TVs, not for land, not for money, not for nothing, just killing, just to be killing. Can you say zombie apocalypse sound like? Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. So my point is that east of the Mississippi is 2/3 of the population, okay? 2/3. Let's say there's 600 million, that means 400 million people are east of the Mississippi. I know that's exaggerating, but not much. Okay, so now this woman saw, this is a fascinating thing, she said, even though the 2/3 of the population of the United States is east of the Mississippi, she saw points of light across the country. She said only about 20 or 30, I think she said 20 or 30, but only 3 or 4 in the east. Only 3 or 4 safe places in the east, most of them in the west. Okay, now 2/3 of the population of east of the Mississippi, but she only saw like 2 or 3 safe regions. And what were the points of light? As she focused, she was like zoomed in. You know, I can do that when you're in a vision or a dream. She zoomed in on them and saw that the light was coming from people who were praying. And those people who were praying, she knew 7 things about them. They knew something bad was going. They were praying. They knew something bad was going to happen. They prepared as much as they could. They had leadership. They had food. They shared the food. And when the hordes of people came out from the cities, the only places that were not annihilated and killed by them were those points of light, those safe regions where people were sharing food. Those were the only places that were saved when the hordes came out of the cities. That says so much to me about the willingness to share and to be loving and be, merciful and contributing to others, helping others. Unselfish people are only, in other words, she's saying only unselfish people are the only people that are going to survive what's coming. And that's my contention, too. I've said that for years before I even read that. Selfishness is going to kill itself. Anybody who's selfish is going to be dead. They will kill themselves by stupidity. They're going to see a guy. I mean, look at the zombie targets. One of the zombie targets is a guy in a white lab coat with a stethoscope around his neck for crying out loud. He's all bloody, and you're trained to shoot at him. He's look, got blood on his face. He's got blood on his arm. You're going to shoot at him and kill him. Well, that could have been an angel, a doctor, who was sent as an angel to save your life because you're going to cut your leg with a chainsaw. But you're going to kill him. Survivors are going to kill people like that, or they're an herbalist and they were sent there to save your life from something disease, infection or something. So survivalists and preppers are going to kill people that were sent to save their life. One way or another, they're going to kill themselves off. I don't see any hope for that. I don't see any hope for this idea of being selfish. None whatsoever. So, all right. So yeah, she saw. I'm reading over the things. I guess everybody can see him, I hope. Do you have any opinions on the negative building? You mean like the, what's it called? God, in the middle of something like that, run across that. The top brown thing. The blah, 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 bloodline, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Illuminati, not quite. So the tribes went to Syria. No, I didn't say Syria. I said Scythia. Scythia. The 10 tribes went to Scythia. When you read uh, Stephen Collins, he shows that very clearly. Scythia was Manasseh. I mean, he goes into battles. They acted exactly like in the biblical battle with Manasseh. Okay, and the Parthia was Ephraim, and they governed, they did everything exactly like Ephraim did in the Bible, and he shows that parallel. They governed, they fought, they waged war, they did things exactly like Ephraim did, and they even fought with each other. America's fought with Britain. And America is very much like Manasseh. It governs and wages war like Manasseh, and Britain wages war and governs like Ephraim. Ephraim was a company of nations, a confederation of nations. Well, what is the British Commonwealth? It's a Commonwealth of Nations. So the word's on the tip of my tongue. Negative bloodline. Somebody throw it out there. Negative bloodline. That's the bloodline. That's bloodline. Yes. That is ridiculous. Lehi was vacated right about 500 BC, according to many archaeologists, Mormon archaeologists. Yeah, Lehi, 500 BC. So that would have been before Jeremiah. No, after. I got to read up my Mormon history. Yeah, my house doesn't need any major earthquakes happening. Oh, I can hear you there. Yep. If you're in Fayetteville, I would say you're pretty solid. Pretty doing okay. If you're still out there, it's me. Yeah. You might feel just a shaking and that. A lot of the OzArk Plateau is very solid, like Springfield Plateau is I've heard, almost solid granite. So I don't think anything's going to ding it too much, ring it too much. I don't know how far down you are. I know where about Fayetteville is, but not exactly. But I wouldn't worry about it. That's so irritating. Negative bloodline. Doc, why don't you just use the word? That's not sheesh. I don't know. That's so irritating. Scythian and Thrace were the biggest players in the Spartacus story. Interesting. Don't remember that per se. Okay, anyway, so long story short. Okay, let's get on to not bigger and better things. Something else. So I wanted to talk about this communication. Anybody heard that? It's Baofeng. It's a little. Somebody said ham radio. Well, it's just. I'm not sure frequencies on it, but it's a little simple ham radio. Maybe FMR. It's got 16 channels. Very simple, very cheap. Okay.
Power on. 16, 14, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1, 2, 1.
Houston, we have ignition. Okay. 1 to 6 channels, 1 through 16. Very simple. You turn it on, you turn it off. You can unscrew the antenna.
3.
Change the channel. You don't have to program it. You just turn it on and use it. Little red, orange buttons there. One is a light. I think some of them has an SOS, a flashing sequence, but this one just either on or off. And there's another button is the call button, I think. But I don't hear it doing any signals like GMR. So you can have one that's like a mountain lion or a or cow mooing or something, But this is just like I don't know that it does anything for the radios because I can't listen to one at the same time. But point being, it has a push to talk. That lights up the little light there when you're on. So protocols. My point is that these would be a very good radio to buy because they're cheap. Okay, I got 13 of them, along with 18 chargers. And a whole bunch of other crap. There's a used listing on eBay. What's going on there? Okay. Antennas and little heads. Come on. Anyway, a whole boatload of headsets. I don't know how many. A bunch of them. 18 chargers, 13 radios, and antennas and whatnot for them for $99. So, and the reason I did it was because I have been in communication with a friend of mine, ex-friend now, I guess, my last one. Haley. She was on one of the first fireside chat out there, Words from a Watchfire. She was on there with me and telling me what to do and everything. But anyway, it was our way of staying in touch. If she wanted to come over to, she'd call me on the radio and, across the farm. It's plenty enough. It'll go 2 or 3 miles, I think, easily. Someday I'll test them. But anyway, point being is now, so she had told me that her radio got destroyed, got taken away and broken and thrown away. Well, she was wrong. And so I kind of took the person to task for destroying the radio. They didn't know what I was talking about. So now that person's really pissed off at me. I hear her mom, and she's pissed off at me because of what happened, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, end of that whole scenario. Don't have any communication now. So, but in the interim, it was like, okay, between at one point I said, okay, I wrote to the lady and said, look, if you tell me you didn't take the radio, that's fine. You've been my friend, you've been a good friend, and I owe you my life basically. So I'm not mad at you. If you did, okay, water under the bridge. I forgive you. Well, instead of that, well, when I first thought that it was destroyed, I had four of them. Okay, and I tried to keep. I was going to give her a second one. So when the battery went dead, she'd have another one to back up on. Anyway, so I thought, well, shoot, that's ridiculous. That somebody would take a radio and destroy it, but she didn't. The little girl was mistaken. But I think she's definitely an empath. Her mom knows she's an empath, so I think she felt what her mother wanted to do. But it's very real when somebody hates me. I mean, I feel hate, and they want to kill me. I know that. When anger. If you're angry with your brother, you've already committed murder. Well, the reason of that is because anger is death. If you're angry with someone, you're killing them. I mean, you're basically suicide too. But so my thought was, okay, if you want to play that game, I'll get more radios, and I'll just have two or three with chargers. That way she'll have a charger of her own. So, but now it's like, no, you can't talk to her at all. Period. End of story. Ever. Period. Not in any way, shape, or form. Like, okay, well, so much of that idea. But I got 13 radios. So now I have 13 plus 4, 17 radios. So my point is that if you had one of these radios, if you got some of these, you can buy them for on eBay or anywhere, Amazon, eBay, 5 of them for 6 of them, 10 of them. You can buy 20 of them at a time. I got 13 at a time with 18 chargers. That's a pretty good deal. So I would not recommend against. I would say this is like a rule of thumb protocol. I'm saying this OzArk Plateau, protocols for the OzArk Plateau, directives for the OzArk Plateau. Okay. Get some of these. They're simple. I don't know what band they are. I don't know if they're ham radio, but in an emergency, they get you here. Okay. So you get within 3 miles of here, and you start. And we have a base station with one of these. Okay, set up. There's 2 or 3 of these on time. And I could have one on the trailer at all times. The only very frustrating thing is when they start saying, "Please change battery," every 10 seconds. Please change battery or low battery. It's in Chinese kind of an accent. The only frustrating thing is to find the damn thing. But if I hang them up on the wall, I could have 3 of them in the trailer turned on at all times, base station. And somebody gets down here 3 miles away and they go, "Hey Jerry, I need help. I need help. I got a flat tire down here. Somebody's chasing me down here." Okay, cool. We can mobilize and solve your problem. Tell you how to get here. So what they are is Baofeng 888, 888, just 888. Easy number to remember, right? 888. New beginnings, like 777, but say 888. Baofeng 888. Baofeng. Okay. Get as many as you can. And that way, if you're in a convoy, they're great for, especially when you're traveling and you got more than one vehicle. They're great because you can, it's a pain in the ass having a cell phone, having to call somebody every 5 minutes. Unless, hey, you're supposed to turn, the first person turns and then the other person doesn't, or the first person does turn, the second person doesn't see it. Hey, I turned, get back. You gotta come back now. These things are great because you don't have to dial the number and wait for it to ring, and their headset doesn't work, or they drop their phone, and then they get in an accident because they dropped the phone. A friend of mine did it almost recently. He went off the road, but he got back on. But they dropped his phone. Then I called him, and right when he was turning a corner or something. Anyway, these things are great for convoys, farm work. Traveling around local, going to fairs. If you go to a big expo or something, they're good for keeping in touch with people. They're expo people. Everybody uses them. So they're good for that. I'm not saying they're GMRS. I don't know what they are. I don't really care what they are, but they're good. They're simple. They're good. Or get a bunch of GMRS radios. I don't care. Cobra, Midland, they're 2 of the good ones. They're 38. Some are 38-mile range. Well, that's if you're over flat Earth. Yeah, flat water, you might go 38 miles, but usually they're 3 miles or so. I've tested these for a good 2 miles anyway. I was driving away from the farm one time. We stayed in touch for quite a while. I was amazed how well they did, how clear the reception was for quite a while. So anyway, all right. So that was communication. Another thing I'll just throw out there: learn Morse code. I mean, if somebody says ham radio, if you get a ham radio, get a ham radio operator's license. Get certified, get licensed, know how to use it and everything. We did a bulk purchase of ham radios one time. They were more expensive than these. They were about $50. We got a whole mass purchase of them. The Usan. It's called, looks like Waxon, but Ushan radio, Chinese radio also, and they were a 2-meter ham radio.
Okay, 2 meter handheld ham radio, not much bigger than this thing. Well, to this day, one guy's been asking me about ham radio, blah blah blah, and he had one, blah blah blah. I would say that 95% of the people that bought those radios, 50 people, don't know how to use them, don't know how to run them, don't know how to turn them on, do not know how to program them. My grandson helped me out. We bought them on a Wednesday. Maybe Friday, I think it was. And he goes, Grandpa, yesterday I sat down and read the manual all the way through, and I read it through again. And this morning I got up and I read it through a third time, and I have my radio programmed. So he programmed Bill's radio here. Bill bought some. He programmed it. He has. Nobody knows how to run. Nobody knows how to program. Don't know how to use them. Don't have any idea of radio protocol. Don't have any idea of how to communicate with anybody. Period. So buying a ham radio without a ham radio license is like buying, I don't know what would be the good equivalent. Buying surgical tools for doing brain surgery without knowing how to do brain surgery, or buying dental tools not knowing anything about dental tools, or buying a whole bunch of construction equipment not having a freaking clue about how to do construction, or buying reloading equipment not knowing anything about reloading. My contention has been, someday somebody may. I have a thing for making it's called a centrifuge for separating plasma from blood. It's a manual operator when spin it. Do I know anything about blood? Not too much, but I figure someday that maybe a doctor or somebody that knows that, man, if I just had a centrifuge, I could use a sock, or I could, well, I got a centrifuge. Here you go. Cool. Thank God you have that. There's things that people can use. You can buy tools and not know how to use them, and they'll come in very handy someday. Even after you're dead, they'll come in handy. So, all right, I'm about done for. Hour and a half. That's long enough. My voice is about shot to hell. All right, so a little bit of history lesson. Nobody else is saying nothing. Yeah, damn it. Okay. Actually, the University of Tel Aviv doing the study I read. What study did you read? Scythia and Thrace were the biggest players in the Spartacus story. Doing the study I read. Okay. What study were you reading, Gaddy? You talking about the University of Tel Aviv doing the study I read? What was that about? I don't know. God, negative bloodline. Somebody tell me what that is. It's right there. It's S. The bloodline. Geez, that's so crazy. Dan Brown. I read the book too. The Rosicrucian. No. That's so stupid. I can't remember. I could look it up though, and I'm not going to because I don't want to get off the line here. Might blow it up. Actually, Casper has a pretty good port. Casper, Wyoming. Casper the Ghost. I don't know what you're referencing there. Come on.
Take it through logically. Okay, what is it? Bloodline. Illuminati, no. Sacred. Sacred. It would be nice if somebody would tell me what the heck it is. I can't remember. It's bugging the heck out of me. Rosicrucian, no. Come on. Get it out and tell me. Crap. Right there. Right there. I can bite my tongue and get it. Chomp, 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 chomp. Sacred bloodline. Is the Da Vinci Code true? Oh, real. So the Holy Grail, Sangreal. Sacred bloodline. Holy Grail, what is the word? Rosicrucian, no. Doggone it. I'm going to get pissed off about this in a minute. The bloodline, it's just irritating. Rosicrucian, sacred bloodline, Magdalene. The the Illuminati think they're from. Oh, that's so irritating. Anyway, no big deal. I'll figure it out later. Okay, so let's quit. I give it up. I'm tired. You can't keep pup. All over the comments. Lost you are all over the comments. Alright, whatever. No big deal. University of Tel Aviv study you mentioned. Alright, I'm going to say goodnight. Good night, everybody. Get radios. Communication. Learn Morse code. You can have a LED flashlight and a PVC tube and direct line of sight. We can communicate. Okay. It's me. Good night, it's me. Good night, Gadian. Good night, Common Sense. Good night, it's me. I already said that. What else is on here? Somebody had a question there. I didn't get to it. I'm sorry. What is a citizen of a trust territory? Is that what you were talking about the other day when you were talking about people born without being... It faded. I apologize. Not my fault, but that's just the way it works. I don't know how to keep it up. Citizen of a trust territory. I'm not sure what you mean by trust territory, but yeah, basically where you're not a citizen of the United States, you're not a slave, and hopefully my children will all be that way. What is that, Evelina?
That's pretty good Russian there. Evelina. eBay. Joe Black. Dumb Water Channel Analysis, maybe. Could be. Ham Radio, S12, yeah, it was fun. Oklahoma, yeah, okay. As far as the trust and Social Security number and everything, I believe that this region is going to be basically Yamerica. Yamerica. America meant Heavenly Kingdom. Amer Reich. Look it up in Hebrew. Third Reich, Amer Reich, Heavenly Kingdom. And Yamerica will be Yah's kingdom, ruled by the law of God. That word is in the tip, like bloodline. Sangreal, no. God, that is so irritating, I'll tell you what. In
Here's the definition of and
what is the bloodline in Dan Brown's book?
used to. According to Wikipedia, the novel explores an alternative religious history, whose central plot point is that the Merovingian kings of France were descended from the bloodline of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene. Ideas derived from Clive Prince's The Templar Revelation and books by Margaret Starbird.
Merovingian. I was way off. Okay, good night. Merovingian bloodline, the negative or evil bloodline, yeah. I don't know if that could be the same, could be all the kings and queens all over the world are of that bloodline, supposedly. Specifically, they believe that it's from Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Well, it's a very similar doctrine in Christian teaching, as I believe, called the, don't tell me, I can't remember. Oh, man. Desposini. Desposyni. Desposini. And that means people descended from the literal bloodline of Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and his brother James, the lineage of Jesus' house. James, Desposini, yeah. That these people will be the ones that will rule God's people in the end times and will lead the fight against the New World Order, against the Merovingian bloodline, if that comes to that. Okay, so there you go. Merovingian bloodline, that's it. That's what I think. All right, good night, everybody. Hallelujah. God bless. I'm done enough. I'm tired. Good night. Bye-bye. Pasta lasagna. Hasta la vista, baby.